This is David Diaz, former WBC lightweight champion of the world, and you're listening to The Grueling Truth.
Welcome, everybody, to another Inside Boxing Weekly show. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster. Right now I want to welcome in my co-host, Jeremiah Preisser.
Good afternoon, Mike. How you doing?
All right. We actually got to see some good fights yesterday.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised, but I'm very happy that we got some of the results we did. It's good. It bodes well for boxing.
Well, we had Anthony Joshua defended his title with a knockout. I think the fight went a little bit longer than people thought it would, but what was your take on Joshua?
I think Joshua looked pretty good. I think he's shown a little – I'd like to say that he's shown a little progression, but then again, Brazil didn't really offer up much offensively. I mean, the guy turned out to be really tough. I mean, a lot of us knew that beforehand. You know, he took some good shots against Mansour. He was in a few other scraps before he got to Joshua. But it was almost like a glorified sparring session, honestly. I mean, Joshua basically did what he wanted when he wanted, and it was just really Brazil's chin that kind of kept him in there. But I look forward to see Joshua's progression. He said that he wanted the Joseph Parker fight, and I think that's a good fight between two undefeated guys.
So who would you favor in the Parker fight? I mean, with either guy, neither one's fought the greatest of competition, so it's hard really to tell, I think.
Yeah, it is. But I think at this point, I think me and a lot of others would place Joshua just a bit higher. Parker really only has to come at the moment. And he looked a little rough in spots, not sloppy, but some of his technique could have been a little bit better, but he's got good hand speed and he's got good size. I think it's a quality styles matchup, but again, I think Joshua at this moment is just a little bit better. The guy's technique is really good for a big man, so if it comes down to it, I'm going to favor Joshua. Parker's chin looks pretty good. If it is a stoppage, probably late, but yeah, Joshua at the moment.
Yeah, I want to see the fight because I think it'll be a really good fight, and we really don't know how good either one is, so that's a way to find out, I think.
Yeah, every time we talk about Joshua, it's just weird for me because he holds a portion, he holds a heavyweight title, and we still have question marks around him. I mean, the guy's only got 17 fights. But
when you win your title against Prince Charles Martin, that's why you got question marks. Because let's face it, I think Brazil would probably whip Charles Martin's ass. Yeah, no,
I don't think Martin. He showed that he was probably one of the worst title holders in heavyweight history.
Yeah, I think he's right up there with Bruce Seldon.
Yeah. I mean, he folded far too easy. But hey, Joshua, I think Parker's a step in the right direction. And if he gets past him, if it's the next fight that's being made, I know Deontay Wilder. He's on social media calling for the fight because he doesn't seem to want to do anything with Povetkin after Areola. But hey, no matter where Joshua goes, I think he does pretty well. He looks, I'm still not convinced that he's some Lennox Lewis type, but compared to the other heavyweights, he looks like a legitimate contender at least.
Yeah, that brings us to George Groves, won a decision. I think it was 118-110 on all three cards against Martin Murray. Very good fight. Murray took a hell of a beating, and it was really surprising to me he never even got knocked down once. He's a tough guy. Groves looked really good, though, I thought.
Yeah, I did too. I've always liked Groves. He offensively, I think he's a really good fighter. He's got
but he always seems like he's missing something.
Yeah, I know. It's like. One thing when I watch his fights, it seems like his accuracy seems to be a little off, or his defense doesn't seem to be quite where it should be. But against Murray, his offense was working well. He's got those long limbs. He was jabbing nicely, landing nice right hands, countering effectively. Murray seemed to do okay in spots, but he didn't really press the fight like a lot of us thought that he might. And Murray ended up taking a little ass whooping for 12 rounds, and he showed heart. I like Murray and I like Groves both.
Yeah, Murray always shows heart.
Yeah, and the thing I noticed about the commentators were that they were saying that Murray doesn't really fit in at 168, and I didn't really buy that. I think Murray looked like a big guy. I don't think the weight necessarily affected him. I just think he's taken a number of beatings. He got Golovkin beat him up for 11 rounds before stopping him. He took some shots against Arthur Abraham, ended up losing. And then he fights Groves. I just don't think he's quite at the world level anymore. But good win for Groves, and I'd like to see. He's what they say. He's second in line for the WBA belt right now, which it would be. Of course, we're all waiting for the WBA to decide whether or not to strip Felix Sturm, which likely they should, seeing as he failed his drug test. But it's either going to be Felix Sturm or Fedor Chutinov, who he's in next in line for. So if I doesn't come up, I'd be perfectly fine with a James DeGale rematch.
Yeah, I think Groves is better than Sturm right now. And, Sturm, let's face it, if there was drugs taken, it was by the officials that kept him champion because he's had a fair amount of controversial decisions going his way over there.
Oh, yeah, a sizable number of them. And I think a lot of us just kind of want Sturm to kind of just weed himself out of the boxing game. If he wants to fight lower-level guys in Germany, and eat up the fandom, that's all good and well. But on a world level, he just doesn't look like he has it anymore. I thought Chutinov won their last fight. Of course, Sturm got the decision. Big surprise in Germany. But Sturm he doesn't look like a world-class guy. He's just kind of milking it for all it's worth. And I agree with you. If Groves gets a shot at Sturm, granted he stays the champion, I think Groves wins. I think he's too long and strong.
Well, and the thing that upset me is Showtime. They showed the Chris Eubank fight instead of Groves and Murray. And Groves and Murray, actually, outside of Thurman-Porter, was the fight I was most looking forward to yesterday. Luckily, somebody posted it on YouTube today, and I got to watch it before it got taken down. But to me, that tells me that this Eubank Triple G that you talked about last week is real close to getting made. And what was your take on Eubank's performance against Doran?
I thought he looked good. Eubank was in against kind of a European-level guy. He was a solid guy, but not world-class guy, not even a fringe contender. But I think that was kind of the plan. I think they knew that Chris Eubank was going to get a bigger fight, so they just wanted to keep him active, get him a little experience, and that's what he got. Offensively, I think Chris Eubank Jr. looks pretty good. He's got solid hand speed. Looks like he's got a little pop to his punches. He got the stoppage in the fourth round. One thing I didn't like about what he did, though, was he kind of winged the uppercut sometimes.
Yeah.
And like we were talking about before, he just has a tendency to leave his chin too much up in the air. But, regardless, he got his experience, got the win, and I do think the Golovkin fight is next. And like I said last week, I think it's a good thing. I'm sure a lot of us would prefer Golovkin to fight, maybe somebody else in the top 10, like an Andy Lee. But he's beat most of these guys, and some of the guys in the top 10 aren't really that. They're not really that exciting. Guys like Andy Lee. Him getting a draw with Peter Quillen.
Well, he's exciting because every fight's a hell of a fight because he'll stand there and throw punches, but he won't duck.
Right. Yeah. And I like Andy Lee. I'm happy about what he's done, but
he's went farther with the skill set he has than I ever thought he could.
Right. Yeah. I agree. And but with his draw against Quillen, his loss against Saunders, I don't think there's a lot of push for that. But Eubank gets tons of press in over in the UK, and a lot of it's because he's the son of Eubank. But he's a good fighter. I think it's a good introduction for Golovkin into the UK market, which is really hot right now. And I think it sets up bigger things in the future if he fights Saunders in a unification match. But it's just good for his checkbook, regardless. It's a big fight, and he's just like I said before, they're just turning Golovkin into an international superstar, and I like where we're taking.
Well, and I can tell you this, going back to Anthony Joshua, David Hay called him out today on Twitter.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, David Hay's got to get past Shannon Higgs.
It's hard to say that with a straight face. I didn't even say it. I started laughing when you were saying it.
Yeah, well, I don't know what I'd do if Shannon wins, but if Hay gets past him, it's not a bad. That's one thing that I've noted before is that if Joshua continues winning, he's got some good domestic options. Not only Tyson Fury, which would be huge. Even if Tyson Fury loses to Klitschko, I still think that's a huge fight. in the UK, but David Haye, David Price, if he keeps winning. I mean, David Price, he's been knocked out, doesn't have the chin, but he's a skillful big man. And if he keeps winning, I think there'd be a little push for that.
Well, they better keep putting him up against guys they can't punch.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, David Price could be knocked off at any moment, but to his credit, he's skillful. I like him.
And really, David Haye has skill, and I think we'd find out a lot about Joshua.
Yeah, no, I agree. Not only does Haye have a lot of skill, but he's got experience. I mean, I think he'd give Joshua a good test.
All right, and that brings us to the main event last night, which was an outstanding fight. You had Keith one-time Thurman wins a close unanimous decision over Porter. What was your take?
Well, we talked about this on last week's show, and you had two top 5 guys in a hot division going at it with one another, and it turned out to be an excellent fight. It was really, really good. I mean, I think a lot of us are happy about the turnout. I mean, not only in terms of attendance, but in terms of the fight itself. They both were aggressors at some point. They both boxed a little bit. Porter kept coming forward a lot. Porter assumed the role of the aggressor most of the time, but Thurman, again, he had his moments. But it was close. It was tit for tat all the way through. 7-5 in Thurman's favor, I think, was the right call. Porter,
I think it's exactly what I had. It's almost everybody I saw on social media. Everybody had it 115, 113 for Thurman.
Yeah, and I think that was the right call. I mean, Porter, he was good in spots. He would push Thurman back to the ropes, unleash a flurry. But Thurman just seemed to be the crisper, sharper, more powerful guy. I mean,
he did the most damage.
True. Yep. Yeah.
Other than the Porter body blow, which may have been the most effective punch of the night.
Yeah, and I'm surprised he didn't go down there a little bit more often. But he gets a little sloppy. He smothers his work sometimes, and that's part of the reason why I favored Thurman's work as well.
Well, I think body punching is something that went out like 30 years ago anyways. I mean, if you watch Joshua, I think if he'd have went to Brazil's body, he'd have got him out in the second or third round.
Oh yeah. I mean, Joshua's he was headhunting. I mean, that's what you see from a lot of guys. I mean, Klitschko almost never went to the body. Batali almost never went to the body. I can't think of a heavyweight who went to the body consistently. I mean, Tua, I guess, had his moments, but no, I mean, for the most part, body punching isn't the art that it used to be, though. Like we've talked about in the past, I think Ricky Hatton was one of the few guys that really had it down nicely. But yeah, poor Porter, he just didn't do enough of that. Thurman, he was counter-punching nicely, fought well off the ropes sometimes. And I was surprised by how many bombs that Porter ate. I mean, Porter, he has a tendency to get a little sloppy when he's coming in. Like he'll jab, kind of duck, and then start to go to work. Or he'll throw a punch and then duck and then start to go to work. But Thurman caught him a number of times on the way in, and there were only a few, for all the bombs that he ate, there were only a few times that he actually was really hurt. Yeah,
and where do you think they go from here? Do you think they fight each other again, or is there a different route you would like to see them go?
I personally wouldn't want the rematch immediately. I think even though there were a number of swing rounds and that it was a close fight, I still think that Thurman deserved the nod. I think he was the winner. And what I'd like to see is, seeing as I'm a fan of, somebody being the man, somebody putting that flagpole on the top of the division and crowning themselves the best. I'd like to see Thurman fight Danny Garcia in a unification match, and then after Kell Brook, I assume beats Jesse Vargas. I'd love to see them come together and decide who the best of the best is. That's what I really want to see. And not only that,
at the end of that, they can defend against Sean Porter.
Right. Yeah.
But I still think Porter looked good enough, and his career's been good enough that he deserves it. I mean, he's lost 2 fights, close fights, to the guys that are probably the 2 best welterweights in the world.
Yep. Yeah, undoubtedly. So, Porter gets a rematch with either one of those fellas. So it's a win-win for me. And another thing is I'd like to see Danny Garcia. I used to like Danny Garcia, but he's been taking he's been the product of good management lately. I'd like to see Thurman beat him. Take that title away, take that 0 away,
I think Thurman would beat him.
Oh, I do too. I think personally, I think it's between Thurman and Brook.
Yeah, me too, and I don't think that there's much chance Garcia's getting in the ring with either one of them anytime soon.
Yeah, anyway, it's unfortunate. I mean, I used to have a lot of confidence in Danny Garcia's career because he took some tough fights on the way up. I mean, when he beat Lucas Matisse, who a lot of people regarded as the second best 140-pounder in the world, we're like, hey, this guy's on, to bigger and better things. He's going to fight the best in the world. And then he gets a controversial victory over Herrera, and he just struggles a bit, and then it's just been a little disappointing. And and you hear him on social media, he's like wanting guys like Andre Berto. I mean, come on, fight the best of the best, man. You can't. These guys, somebody like Garcia is just trying to milk it for too much.
Yeah, there's no reason to want Andre Berto. Andre Berto's not even a top 10 anymore.
No, he's maybe a top 20 guy. That division is deep. I mean,
well, right now Berto's the guy that young guys fight to prove they're top 10.
Right. That's not, to me, that's not a fight a title holder uses as a defense. Maybe you're voluntary, but Danny Garcia's past this. He needs to fight a top guy like he did Matisse a few years back.
Yeah. And, I mean, I think there's questions of Garcia at the welterweight limit.
I do, too. I mean, I think he looked a bit slower when he fought Robert Guerrero, but, with Garcia kind of struggling against lesser guys, I think a lot of us have question marks about how good he really is, but you just got to get on it. I mean, the Thurman-Porter fight is an example of what promoters should be striving for. In fact, I was reading today that Thurman-Porter may be the most watched boxing match in the entire year. It did something like, was it 2.6 million views at its peak, which was even better than baseball on Fox.
Well, it doesn't take much better ratings than baseball on Fox anymore. Baseball on Fox and the NHL don't do really well, or MLS soccer. But
yeah, well,
hopefully they'll keep doing it because, I mean, really, there's nothing else they show on a Saturday night on a network anyways. And hopefully Thurman and Porter do good enough numbers that, I mean, you never know. There may be a rematch immediately just because CBS wants it.
Yeah, maybe. Hey, either way, I think it's a good example of that. I think it's what the promoter should be trying to get at. I mean, it seems like the fans have more sense than the promoters a lot of times. Just get us the best versus the best, and things will work out financially. Just make it happen.
Yeah, and I think, to me, I know what you're saying about Thurman Garcia, but I would rather see Thurman Porter just because I think it's a lot better fight.
Yeah, I think it is a better fight, but personally, I don't really care too much about the trinkets that a lot of these guys are.
Yeah, and really, I would rather just see Thurman fight Brook.
Yeah, just make that fight. I mean, he's just got to get past Vargas, but yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah, and then Garcia can go defend against Andre Berto. Maybe we can dig up Sugar Ray Leonard, let him fight him. Maybe fight Duran. When Duran's movie comes out, give Duran's movie a little boost. He might as well just fight guys that are shot.
Yeah, let's just start calling him out of the woodwork.
Yeah, and I mean, really, who wants to watch Danny Garcia fight right now anyways when you got these other guys? I mean, Kell Brook is great to watch. Thurman and Porter are always action. I mean, Garcia's been in some good fights, but not like those guys. No,
well, it's really his recent course, which is turning us off to him. I mean, boxing, I think these guys need to understand that boxing is a sport that you can become irrelevant in very, very quickly. So unless you're active, unless you're putting your name out there, things like inactivity, defending against lower-tier guys who probably don't deserve to be in the ring, that's the sort of thing that hurts your checkbook.
Well, Andre Ward is a perfect example.
Like 3
or 4 years ago, there were people that thought I was one of them that thought he should be number one pound for pound. Now, I still, in the pound-for-pound ratings I put out, I put him at number 2. A lot of people got pissed, but I still, until somebody beats him, I think he's one of the best fighters in the world. So I still think it needs to be taken from him, and I don't think it was really technically his fault why he wasn't fighting.
Yeah, I mean, I can't claim to know what was going on behind closed doors, but I don't know. It's just unfortunate. Yeah,
and boxing management's usually not the most up-and-up guys and most honest guys, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on it. Yeah,
well, hey, he's the good thing is he's fighting Alexander Brand. That's not the good thing, but the good thing is that he's setting up for a bout with Kovalev, and and that's one of the best fights that can be made in boxing. So I'm happy.
Yeah, that's one I'll actually even pay for to get it on the big screen instead of just watching it for free on my 25-inch computer screen.
Yep.
Unless they want to get stupid and charge $100 again, like they did for that Mayweather-Pacquiao fight.
Yeah, no. Let's not use that sort of business model. I mean, that fight I don't even think deserved it. After watching, I didn't pay for it, but
if it would have turned into an Ollie Frazier, it would have been worth it, but it definitely didn't. And I think 90% of people going in knew it wouldn't.
Yeah, I think a lot of us knew that Mayweather would kind of stick to his style and stick and move. But with Andre Ward, I don't think you could demand those sort of prices because Andre Ward, he's popular in Oakland, but outside Oakland, like his last fight, the attendance wasn't that great. Kovalev isn't that popular. Funny enough, Kovalev, I think, might have a better resume than Golovkin, but Kovalev is significantly less popular. So, with Ward and Kovalev, they're both very good fighters, but you can't demand those sort of prices on a pay-per-view, unless you stack the undercard.
All right, well, I think that wraps us up for this week. There's not a whole lot on the horizon. I know there's a couple good fights in a few weeks, but that'll bring me to my last subject, which is every time we look forward to this fight, it gets canceled. What's your take on Fury-Klitschko 2?
Yeah, it seems like we're never going to get this damn fight. We got another cancellation. I guess Tyson Fury, I saw the pictures. Apparently he hurt his ankle. I'd have to take a closer look at it. I've heard some people say, hey, maybe there's some suspicious going on because there wasn't much swelling to it. I don't know. Maybe it's a Photoshop job. I don't know. But
well, we've heard everything from somebody who's fairly reputable over there told me that he just wasn't in good enough shape to fight him and pulled out. And then I've also seen today allegations that maybe he was about to fail a drug test.
Yeah, and the UCAD, the doping agencies for the UK, they've refused to comment on the situation. And apparently, from what I've heard, is that this was 16 months ago. So I'm not quite sure what's going on. I'm going to have to, wait and see how see the details hashed out before I make any final judgment. But if Tyson Fury's not in shape, I fear for his future because if you can't get up for the heavyweight championship of the world, make no mistakes, whoever wins is the man. Then you've got big issues. I mean,
why wouldn't he just? I mean, I don't think he was forced to take a Klitschko immediate rematch, was he?
Yeah, he was contractually obligated.
Okay, I thought they said that he chose to do that, but.
Yeah, no, that was put into the contract. But I mean, regardless, this is a massive fight. It's one the whole world is going to watch because again, this is for the championship. Whoever wins is the top man. But I mean, if he can't get up for this, I don't know.
So have you heard? Did they give a rescheduled date or how long he could possibly be out?
I haven't heard anything. I mean. I've seen Klitschko say that he's sorry and it's unfortunate. I don't know how serious the ankle injury is. I'm not sure how long it'll take him to recover. But if they're contractually obligated, hopefully they make it in the fall or the winter, and then we can have it. It sucks because this is it may not be the best fight, but it's the most important heavyweight fight. And
and to be able to get to Fury or Klitschko against Joshua or Wilder, because the perfect thing is Joshua fights Wilder, the winner fights the winner of Fury-Klitschko.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and then we may have Joshua as the lineal heavyweight champion of the world,
or Deontay Wilder, and then actually there might be a heavyweight title fight worthy of a pay-per-view at some point.
Right, and not only that, for Wilder, I mean, if he were to win, it'd be significant because American heavyweights they haven't been on the top of the world for a long time. And I mean, it's been dominated by...
Yeah, and the thing with him is he has a good personality. I mean, he's well-spoken. I mean, he likes to brag a little bit. So, I mean, he'll get some attention that way. And, I mean, it could be huge for the sport of boxing if he did.
Yeah, I mean, and not only that, you'd have this... If Wilder were to win, not only would you have a guy who... has an out-there personality, whether somebody likes it or not. He's out there. He makes himself known. You'd have him against this big, humble British guy, and down the road, the possibilities are big here. We've got some good things to look forward to in the heavyweight division, but with this injury thing and if Fury not necessarily taking it seriously, we're just kind of bogging it down a little bit.
All right, well, guys, you can catch us again next week. Any idea what's up for the next week, next fights? Anything going on that weekend?
Yeah, nothing big. It looks like it's kind of going to be slow in the summer. Looks like the biggest fight is Jamal Herring versus Denis Shafikov, and I think that's an interesting fight. Shafikov, he hasn't quite gotten over the hump. He's done fairly well in his shots at the title, and he's a good Russian fighter. And Herring is an up and comer. So I think it's a good kind of crossroads fight. We'll see if Herring has what it takes to be a contender, and Shafikov. We're gonna find out whether or not he's still in it. On the undercard, Patrick Smensky versus Wilkie Camford. Camford's the guy who got knocked out by the Charlo guy. Smensky's the Polish guy. He's solid, but Kermit Simson's on the undercard as well. He's fighting Carlos Garcia, who's 10-15-1.
That's in 2 weeks, right?
No, that's next week. That's July 2nd.
Oh, the weekend coming up. Okay.
Yep. That's
July 2nd. If I'd have known that, would have got Kermit on. Yeah,
Kermit's been on, so, we wish him luck.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll do a show Wednesday night and have Kermit on.
Yeah.
But, guys, remember to check us out on GrillingTruth.net for all the articles, CFL, NFL, boxing, baseball, and I believe Jeremiah's going to start writing for us, too, a little bit, aren't you?
Yep, I'm going to start penning some pieces, and I've already started working on one, so should be up this week.
You want to give everybody a little heads up on what it's about?
I was probably going to do something like the top 20, top 25 punchers today. I'm a big follower of the sport, follow those smaller guys, so I think there will be a few surprises on there.
All right, so everybody make sure you go to GrillingTruth.net, check that out. Remember, you can find all our shows on iHeart, iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn, just about everywhere you find podcasts, you'll find The Grilling Truth. This week, tomorrow, we will have our first CFL Pick'em show with myself, Coach Brian Schmidt, and former four-time Grey Cup champion Robert Drummond, who also played in the NFL with the Philadelphia Eagles. Tuesday, we'll have an NFL Legends show with Reggie Williams. Wednesday, we will have an NFL show or Legends show with Jim Scow. Reggie and Jim both played for the Bengals, Super Bowl 23. Williams, probably the greatest linebacker in Bengal history, played for 16 years. So, of course, I'm excited to interview him. Also, make sure you check out Out of Left Field. So with Graham McCown and Chris Fury, I think it is the best baseball show going, the best weekly baseball show. We just posted it a couple hours ago. They actually had the Major League Baseball's Vice President of Communications on, and then they talked a little bit about the American League pennant race. Also, Tuesday night, we will have Chris Cook and Alan Buck with their show, which, of course, I forgot what they named it. Game Day IQ. There you go. It just came to me. We know I have problems remembering stuff sometimes. But also Wednesday night, we'll have the Gridiron Mo Super Bowl Trivia Show, which Jeremiah ought to come on sometime.
Yeah, I'm not. Hey, I'd join you. I'm not as big of a football fan as you fellas, but I wouldn't mind just chiming in a little bit.
Well, if you want, Wednesday night, we'll set it up.
All right.
But we'll talk about that then. So, guys, make sure you listen to us every week on Inside Boxing Weekly with myself, Mike Goodpaster, my co-host Jeremiah Preisser, and look out for Jeremiah to start writing for us on the website this week. I know the articles he writes for True School Boxing are very good, and can't wait to get him on our website writing his boxing content. So, for Jeremiah Preisser, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.